Good morning and welcome to the Seasons of Self-Actualization mini podcast, where we dive into each season as they come, giving it the attention it deserves to help us understand and embrace all the parts of ourselves so that we can live our lives to the capacity that we know we can. So for the season of spring, we have been looking at how we can create space in our environments to feel potentially reset, renewed, to become more supported, to grow and bloom. And if you haven't seen the other episodes, I would definitely recommend starting from the beginning, as these have the intention to kind of build off of each other a little bit. I'd first like to start off by thanking you for being present here with me. My name is Shyla and I'm so grateful to get to be here with you, and I'd like to invite you to grab some water or a warm drink, stay hydrated. Maybe you can go to a safe place, maybe you can get cozy, and otherwise just keep doing what you're doing. But as you know, it's a short episode, so let's tune into ourselves, right? So how are you feeling today? Just take a moment and ask yourself how you're doing. Remember to connect to your body in any way that you can. If that means rolling your shoulders back, if that means giving yourself a little massage around your neck, loosen up the tension. We carry tension so much in so many places in our bodies, and it's good to give it some attention as well. So for our breathing technique, we are doing the 4-7-8 like usual. So you're gonna first exhale all of your air, breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale through your mouth for 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Make sure to keep breathing. Deep inhales through your nose, hold it if you can, and exhale through your mouth. Keep breathing and connecting with yourself while I read the affirmation of the week. So this week's affirmation is: I am allowed to take up space, to have desires, and to have a voice. I'm allowed to take up space, to have desires, and to have a voice. I'm allowed to take up space, to have desires, and to have a voice. So to dive right in to today's topic, I want to further talk about values, and I really hope that you did the homework from last week where you took the time to write out 10 to 15 potential values, because we are going to be using those at the end of this episode. So if you haven't done that, please just pause it and do that so that you can participate in the homework for the end of the session. So I want to tell you why it has been such a tool to have my values written out for myself. Whenever I felt confused or I was doubting about a decision that I should make, an action I should take, or a direction that I could go in, I was able to remind myself of my highest and most prioritized value. And I was guided. I was guided by a deep part of myself who had already taken the time to think about this in a moment where I wasn't able to connect with that part of myself on the spot. This part of myself was the part of myself that knew what I wanted outside of this situation. So if you remember, I read my values to you last week, and I have a reason and a deep connection to each one of them, but I also have them in order. And when I feel conflicted, I can turn to them and I feel a sense of confidence and direction. I knew the decision that I needed to make after I recalled this value, after I reconnected to it. And this is the kind of tool I want for you to have. I want for you to have this in your mental toolbox for life. And it is not that it's like always the answer and everything, but it has been very helpful in times when I felt lost. So the way that I ordered my values, because it was kind of difficult, was to think about a very specific situation in which I would need to use one of these values and try to figure out which decision I would feel the most at peace with myself after walking away. And I would take turns using each value. So if you can sit down and think about a scenario in which you would have to pick between values and then see which value you're like either consistently picking or the ones that you feel most at peace with after like the hypothetical situation is over, keep those as like the top ones and keep doing this kind of elimination process to get down and order your values. So after you do this, you can quite literally start using them as a guide. And if you'd like, you could even keep them visible. But values, by the way, are actually allowed to be reevaluated as well. So I have a specific note in my phone called quarterly evaluation, if you get what I mean. So the word value is in all caps to remind me that I can re-look at my values now and then and allow them to shift and question if they are still true to me, if I'm still feeling aligned with them. And whenever I do feel quite set on my values, I like to ask myself, am I reflecting my values in my choices, big or small? And whenever you're reflecting your values, it doesn't mean that everything is right in the world. It doesn't mean that you're completely happy or that all your problems go away. It just means that you are showing up for yourself in the best way that you know that you can and trying to live by the, I guess what a lot of people call like the highest version of yourself. Like if you keep taking actions based on a place of this higher version or highest version of yourself, you are continuing to show up and make an effort to become everything that you are feeling and thinking you could become. This week's goal actually has two parts. One part is to prioritize your values in order, to take the time you need and to think about which value you would choose basically in an ultimatum. Give this the attention it deserves and look at it as the investment that it is. And part two is to, after you have those values out and in order, if you are currently reflecting them in your day-to-day choices, in your small decisions. I want you to keep in mind that just because we value these qualities or value these values, it doesn't mean that it comes easy to us, right? So if I really value courage, it doesn't mean that I find it easy and always possible to have courage. No, I value it. It is something that I aspire towards, and that is something that I have to put effort in and remind myself that I value it so that it helps me to put in that effort. And I also want you to keep in mind that practicing reflecting your values in your day-to-day small decisions will support a life of feeling more aligned and more connected to the truest, highest version of yourself. So how are we showing up for ourselves? But also, if we're reflecting our values, hopefully we're showing up as who we'd like to be in our environments as well. So we've been looking at really how has our environment really been affecting us and influencing us. But I want you to think about, how are you reflecting your own values and how are you showing up in your environment? How are you showing up in someone else's environment? So this has been the 5th episode on the seasons of self-actualization, and it is also the last episode in April and the also last episode on this subject of our external environment. So it's a great time to stop and recognize the fact that you are showing up in many ways already. And showing up for ourselves looks different to everyone. It can mean different things. But the act, I think, is really just overcoming this resistance. And that takes effort and it takes strength and it takes courage, and I want to recognize you for that. I also want to thank you for spending your valuable time with me and my thoughts. Remember to leave a comment down below about how you're doing, one thing you've learned or something that you'd like to share, please keep going, even if that means standing still with yourself for a little. And I am so excited to connect with you again on Monday. We are going to be talking about another subject, which I, if possible, am even more passionate about than the last 5 episodes. So definitely don't miss out. Again, I hope to connect with you on Monday, and I hope that you have a great week. Bye.